Thank you all very, very much for being here today. We really appreciate it. My name is Kate Axelsson. I am an admission counselor at St. Edward's University, and I'll be the sort of moderator of sorts tonight, answering questions and such. But we are really excited to be joined by Jim Morris and two of our current students at St. Edward's. Jim Morris is the Associate Vice President of University Operations and the Sustainability Coordinator. So he's here to chat with you tonight all about university initiatives of sustainability and to chat with our two students about their involvement in that. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Jim.
Thanks. I appreciate the opportunity. It's great to speak to everybody. So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about our sustainability efforts here at the university. As Kate mentioned, I'm the Associate Vice President for University Operations. So really what I'll be talking more about is how we incorporate sustainability and environmental responsibility in our everyday work and life here in the campus community. So the first thing I want to mention is that really from as far as who we are from the standpoint of sustainability, it's a multi-level effort. So I'm the sustainability coordinator. I work closely with Christina Bourdin, who's our chief of staff, works in the president's office and is our deputy sustainability coordinator. But we also have a sustainability committee, which includes staff champions from all various departments, including technology, purchasing, and as well as some of the technical experts. We have an arborist on staff who is really, we'll talk more about his efforts as later in the presentation, but he's really been one of the key players as far as not only our sustainability policies, but also walking the walk and teaching that to our students and making them stakeholders in our environmental responsibility. And really, if you've been to the campus, we have a beautiful campus here. We've got a lot of recognition for that. And at all levels, we're working to support that happen. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. And the other thing is we have faculty that are part of that too. We have a lot of interaction. One of the things about our size is that we're small and pretty nimble. So we have a lot of interaction between our staff and our administration and our faculty. And we all work together on the sustainability committee to try to find ways to incorporate into our business practices, to have more information that we can teach out, as well as more ways to engage students. And the most important part of this collaboration is the students. We'll talk a little bit about the Students for Sustainability, as well as the Climate Justice Council, but our Student Government Association is very supportive and are high-level stakeholders in what we do. And we also have interns that work in various parts of sustainability for the campus. If you think about it, sustainability isn't just the science of things. There's also a business component to it. There's also, we even have graphic arts, a robust graphic arts program. And so our fine arts program is a big part of our sustainability efforts as well. So it's really kind of all encompassing. It's part of our culture and part of what we do. So as far as the campus environment, I mentioned before our core campus. It's a beautiful campus. We have been recognized as a Tree Campus USA for many years, including the current cycle. It's actually Tree Campus Higher Education. They rebranded it. As when you come on campus, you see that we have a lot of native plants. Everything is native plants. It's native. It's like a kind of an oasis in the middle of a large and bustling city. Also, the Princeton Review, the Guide to Green Schools, we've been certified by them for the way we do our business from a sustainability standpoint, as well as some of these other things as far as the tree campus and that kind of thing. One of the other things that I think is really important when we look at the science of things, but also the sustainability and how we push that out and how we celebrate that is Wild Basin. So Wild Basin is an off-campus facility. It's about 10 miles from our campus. It's a partnership with Travis County, which is where Austin is, but it also, it's owned by St. Ed's. The visitor center and the operation and the management of it is owned by St. Edward's University. It's really an urban, it's called an urban wild space. It's part of the Balcones Basin out there. It's a teaching center. It's a staffed up teaching center. It's also a research field station. And we also have an artist in residence program. That picture that you see below that is Precious Parker, who was our artist in residence I believe last spring. We do exhibits and everything from there, but there's an engagement component with the community, but it's also, we use it as a teaching center and a research field station. Is really a wonderful addition to what we have here at the university. So as far as from a looking at things from a business standpoint, I kind of look at things, again, with the operations part of things, I have campus safety, and I have facilities, and which includes landscape and custodial and some of those things under my purview. So I kind of break it down into some basic things that we do. One thing starts with how we build our facilities. We look at the materials that we use, the way the buildings are designed, the equipment and materials that go into our facilities, and make sure that we are optimizing the building from an energy efficiency standpoint, but also where we can use a building as a teaching tool as well, where we can have things that provide examples of sustainable practices and those kinds of things. We currently have solar panels on Wild Basin, and we are studying a project right now to expand on that effort here on campus. And that's been an active thing that we've been working on with our Climate Justice Council. We also use reclaimed water for irrigation, some of those things, and those are all kind of designed into the facilities we have. So that's how we build them. That's how we go from the ground up. Once we have our facilities, how we maintain our campus and how we maintain our facilities. We have a very active recycling program and composting program. And in fact, this summer, we're going to be expanding on the composting aspect of things. And as you'll hear from our students, they've really moved things forward as far as the composting and making practical use of that as well. We also, when we look at projects and investing in our facilities, we look at projects that are going to have a payback from an energy and a water saving standpoint. It makes good business sense, but it also is a responsible stewardship of our resources and our environment. As we've seen in the last few months, managing our levels of energy on the grid is an important thing, and we participate in some programs that to help to kind of recognize our share of the grid and kind of help ease our part of the burden on that. And I mentioned before about native landscaping. Our landscaping here is something we take very seriously because, again, we want our campus to kind of be this peaceful, beautiful oasis in the middle of the city. And the plants and the trees and everything that we have here are native plants to the area. We don't bring in things from outside that are not native to our area. And then the other thing is how we operate here. So we've been working to replace some of our traditional gas vehicles with electric and hybrid vehicles. That includes golf carts, or if you've been on a college campus, you see a lot of carts kind of riding around. We've been trying to encourage to walk rather than use the cart. But also where we need to replace carts, we've been replacing them with electric carts. We've also converted our UPD, our University Police Department. I have the safety side of things in my purview. We've converted our police vehicles to hybrid vehicles, which is a big, again, a good business sense, but it's also it's a much cleaner way to operate. I mentioned our demand response program, and again, just to touch on that, that's kind of where we work with the grid. Austin Energy is part of the ERCOT grid, which you probably heard a lot about in the last couple of months, but we work to curtail our use when the grid gets stressed, and that helps the grid so that they don't have to do some of the things that they, like rolling blackout stuff, but also it helps them from having to bring on auxiliary facilities like coal burning facilities, which aren't as environmentally friendly as some of the renewable energy sources that they have. That kind of whitish, greenish tower looking thing there doesn't look like much, but it's a beautiful thing to us. That's our chilled water storage. We have a very efficient way of operating our facilities kind of behind the scenes. And basically what we do is during the warmest periods of the year, we generate chilled water to cool our buildings at night. We generate that chilled water, we store it, and then we use that tank to kind of cool things during the hottest period of the day. That way we're not running a lot of heavy duty equipment during the hottest parts of the day, and it's reducing the stress on the energy grid here. Again, business standpoint, but it also helps reduce the stress on the overall grid. And again, I mentioned before, when you look at our staff and our students, we don't do any of this in a vacuum. We believe in collaboration. And I think and we'll talk more about this in a few minutes, but I think from the student standpoint, the student experience, being exposed to some of these partners and being a part of that is an important part of your professional growth, as well as your personal growth, because you get to work with other people. So we engage partners with advocacy groups like Adopt a Creek, the TRACS program, which is a Texas renewable or Texas sustainability group of universities. Some of our campus partners, like Bon Appetit is our food partner. We work with them. We work with Cap Metro, who's the local, who does the buses and even has a train. They're getting ready to expand that system out, and we're actually partners in some of that. And we're working on some creative ways to make mass transit more available to our students, more readily available. I mentioned before about Tree Campus and some of those recognition programs. We are an Energy Star partner. So again, we do, and we also work with some of the community groups. We just joined the Capital Area Governments Group for Clean Air. And we also are part of the City of Austin Zero Waste movement as well. So again, these are all resources that we have available to us. And the idea is that we try to do, we kind of learn from other people, but we also try to expose our students to as many of these resources as possible. So I've spoken quite a bit, but I think one of the more important things that for somebody who may be considering more campus life here is to talk to the students and talk to our student leaders. So we have Andres Targa and Ethan Tobias on as well. So I'm going to kind of do a question and answer with them and have them talk about their experience here at the university. And then obviously there'll be an opportunity for questions from you as well. So Andres, we'll start with you. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your major, your minor, graduation date, some of your interests, as much as you feel comfortable sharing?
Yeah, sure. So I first started actually as an environmental science major, and my minor and concentration is actually in sociology. And as I said, actually, I did not start as an Ensp major. I started as a biology major. So yeah, I had a very big interest for biology, but then I realized that sustainability was a big thing around campus, and I really liked the community that was revolved around it. And I found some great opportunities there. So yeah, I switched within my first semester, and I think it's been one of the best decisions ever. There's a lot of opportunities and engagement for students around campus around sustainability issues. So yeah, I'm really happy to be creating more environmental awareness initiatives. So.
And you mentioned the ENSP. What can you kind of elaborate on what that is?
Yeah, so ENSP, that just stands for Environmental Science and Policy. And I think that I think personally that it's a great major, especially for myself, because it allows for a lot of diversity, but also for people to choose their areas of interest wisely. For example, in my case, I'm gearing more towards the science part of it. I'm trying to become more of a scientist or researcher. But if you're also looking more towards the law side, you could also become like an environmental lawyer. You could also look into becoming a lobbyist. There's so many things that you can look into in this career, and I think that's what makes it really special, but also why students enjoy being part of the ENSP community.
Thank you. Ethan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Ethan Tobias. I'm a sophomore majoring in political science and business administration. So I'm not an ENSP major, but because of Students for Sustainability, I'm able to just be able to promote my interests of sustainability, you know, promoting climate change policies, stuff like that. Some of my interests include, I love hiking. I actually just went hiking this past weekend at McKinney State Park, which is actually just 25 minutes away from Steads. But yeah, so I'm super interested in sustainability. In St. Edwards, I love how they create just a holistic approach. With every decision making, they take into account some of the sustainability aspects of it too. So yeah.
Yeah, and thanks for mentioning McKinney Falls State Park. That's a nice, really nice state park here in Austin. It's kind of another natural oasis here in the middle of the city. It's a special place to me as well. Andres, Ethan, I'll let you guys kind of tell us a little bit about Students for Sustainability. You talked a little bit about what led you to join them, if you want to elaborate on that, and what motivated you to move forward in your leadership roles with the organization.
Cool, so I think I could start. I mean, SFS has always been, well, it's been an active club since I can think of, and it's had a lot of involvement for students. And more importantly, there's a big community that has grown around it. And so I first became interested or heard even about SFS through my introduction to sustainability class, which is, I mean, it's a requirement for any NSP major, but it allowed me to like start creating connections, especially within Students for Sustainability. I met a couple faculty members and especially students that were very passionate about that. And they would attend either climate rallies or just work during garden work days, which are a big part of what we would consider what SFS stands for now, especially since our garden manager, Luke, has worked really hard to like renovate and create a master plan for our garden. So I think that's a big part of anyone that joins SFS. They have some kind of ecology passion or interested that allows them to like, yeah, or just engage in gardening activities, if you will. But we also create a lot of initiatives for students to become more environmentally aware and also to adapt their lifestyle, if you will, to a more sustainable practices. And yeah, I think it's created a great community around campus.
Yeah, I'll go. And then I first started to get into Students for Sustainability my freshman year. I remember coming as a freshman. I didn't know quite what to do, what clubs to join. So I went to the involvement fair that St. Edward's puts on. And so at that point, I found SFS, and it was just super refreshing. Hearing people, meeting new people that were like-minded, that cared about the things that I care about. So it was a good experience so far. And like Andres said, we have garden work days, lots of other events to promote sustainability, to promote climate change education, other things like that. But yeah.
And I think it's worth mentioning too, when we're talking about Students for Sustainability, it's the second largest student organization on campus behind the Student Government Association. And I like the way that the organization has been, and I'm fortunate enough to be the advisor, so I'm a little biased about it. But we're fortunate to have a good succession plan with the organization. We have a combination of upper class students, and then we have the combination of the freshmen and the sophomores that are in those roles. So we have some continuum between all that, and it's a good, diverse group of students who, from all aspects, who work in that, and as just said, are like-minded. So let me ask you this: you talked a little bit about the networking with students and stuff, but how has your involvement in Students for Sustainability helped you grow your personal network, your professional network, and even reaching out to some of the area businesses and that kind of thing?
Well, personally, I could say that for myself, that it's funny how I've met so many students, both in the applied natural science and behavioral natural science field, that I've met either before and around campus or in a class or somewhere. But it's just interesting how seeing they all are somehow involved in many different ways around campus. And then you start meeting them across clubs. There may be board members and things like that. So it definitely creates a greater part of the community around campus, because you feel that you've not only growing within connections, but you're also kind of nurturing the ones that you already know of, and you're already like growing the ones that you've already either seen someone or heard at least someone on campus. And yeah, I think that it's really important for any student actually being a part of, well, any club, I'd say, to have these experiences, because they really allow you to like expand as well as grow, and like whether it is through experience or knowledge, but it really allows for students to like have an open mind and see the different perspectives that many people across that even club are just thinking of, or the ways that they interact with others. So yeah.
Yeah, just to piggyback of what Andres just said, it's honestly the people that I've met, either if it's students, faculty, staff. The one thing I love about St. Edward's is that the student body, everyone here just has a good sense of wanting to be sustainable, wanting to take care of our planet. So it's a good topic to bring people together, to meet new people. And SFS does a good job in doing that and creating those spaces and making sure these spaces have important conversations surrounding sustainability.
So let's talk about some of the projects that you've done this year. I know you've gotten some grants where you've been able to do some things on campus, both within the university, but also with partnering with some of the businesses outside the university. So can you tell us a little bit about some of these projects and some of the successes you've had just even since last August?
Yeah, I guess I'll talk about one recently. Most recently, we've been having, well, we started with the recent trash pickup that we did in partnership actually with the PT club, and it's been going great. I mean, we had somewhat of activity around campus, but I think that creating these kinds of initiatives, we've also created awareness around campus and gained a lot of student activity, especially around our Instagram. Our social media has grown a lot, and I feel that that's very important, especially since the pandemic. Like, you know, we've been a lot more remote. So a lot of our activities that we promote have been either in person or remotely. And I think that's pretty important for students to not only stay engaged, but also to feel like they're still part of our community. So yeah.
Yeah, so some of the other events that we've done, I know this past weekend we've done a garden work day. That's where students can come help Luke, our garden manager, either work some leaves, deal with the compost, plant some plants. It's springtime, so we just planted a bunch of plants. We are actually just in the middle of, or towards the end of renovating our garden. So we planted a pollinator garden outside of it, and just basic maintaining the garden whenever needed. Some other events that we've done, we partnered with Breckwell to do a sustainability workshop. We made out of reusable t-shirts, a bag. Another thing that we do in the past years, we've done clothing swaps. We had a climate rally a couple years ago, and just a bunch of other events that promote sustainability, that shows the student body that it is possible to change your lifestyle to be in a more sustainable way.
And I'm gonna brag a little bit too about some of the work you've done. The picture that's kind of on the top left-hand corner there with that garden. That garden, the campus garden has been greatly improved by the Students for Sustainability, and that was something they did really developed a plan for. They worked the plan. They opened it up to a lot more students. That tall white thing that one student has their hand on is actually a hydroponic growing system that the students won a grant for, and we have that actually out in the middle of campus right now, where people can. And the idea is that we'll go through cycles with that, where people can actually get healthy foods and things off of that. So that was one another good outreach that they did. Also, the perimeter of that garden is lined with some pollinator plants. Some of which the students worked with the University of Kansas to get grants for milkweed plants and things like that. And even working with the local coffee shop Joe's to get their grounds so that they can compost them. Again, the idea being is that we kind of look at everything around us and where we can bring in champions and partners that Andres mentioned before about the joint cleanup with the physical therapy organization. Students for Sustainability took the lead role in that, but the physical therapy students joined along with it, and I believe there's another one with another organization later on this month. So again, it's a good opportunity to participate, but also to lead and enjoy some of that success. Now, one of the things, Ethan, that you mentioned before, and I think I'd like to elaborate on that, is you talked about the Climate Justice Rally. So let's talk a little bit about the Climate Justice Council. I can start some of that by saying that what we have is a group of administrators, and it's the vice president. I'm on that as well. Our vice president for finance and administration, our vice president for student affairs, and leaders from Students for Sustainability and the Student Government Association work together to really define St. Edward's commitment towards climate justice, and that fits in with our mission as far as understanding that issues of pollution and those kinds of things affect the population disproportionately, and those most vulnerable are really feel the effects of that more. So that's just kind of the meat of what the Climate Justice Council is. But Ethan and Andres, if you want to talk a little bit about how that came to be with the climate rally and how that grassroots turned into a larger effort.
Yeah, so on, I guess towards my viewpoint, it's SFS, student sustainability, and student government, keeping the administration and staff and faculty accountable, making sure there's transparency in the amount of waste that that's getting produced, dirty electricity that's getting outputted. So it's basically just the students advocating for the student body, and then making sure the university upholds our demands as far as keeping St. Edward's sustainable, and just making sure that we're living and we're having a green campus. Yeah.
And really, that issue of holding the university accountable and transparency is something I'm really proud to have seen come out of this, because again, we talk about these things, but it helps make sure that everybody understands that we're walking the walk as well as talking the talk. And it fits just perfectly in with the mission of St. Ed's for social justice and understanding that those more vulnerable are the ones that we all have to work towards making sure that it's a better world for everybody. Last thing I'll ask is, what is your advice to somebody who's considering coming to St. Ed's or who is a new student at St. Ed's? What can they do to help make St. Edward's University a more sustainable campus community?
Well, I think the first thing, like everyone, I guess, would say, is that it starts within your own interest and in your own lifestyle. But the smaller things can lead up to like big ideas. Like, for example, this whole garden work or a garden master plan began like as an idea. So yeah, I think that it's important to like start locally, and then from there keep on growing, and the changes will definitely come afterwards, or should I say the effects of it. I think that for many students, including like myself, we've seen those changes, especially throughout these past 2 years, and especially creating small goals for our club that we've tried to meet every semester, and then from there we've seen some major changes. So yeah.
Yeah, and then my advice would be for incoming students would be just to find people that are like-minded to you. Find either clubs, organizations that fit your like-minded thinking, interests, stuff like that. And also, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. I mean, I was nervous. I wasn't sure where I was going to fit into, but then I saw student sustainability. I saw that there was a officer position open, and then I just applied for it, and now here I am. I'm the vice president for SFS. So just putting yourself out there, finding the like-minded people, and then yeah, St. Edward's is a great community. Everyone here is super friendly, super helpful, and they just want the best for you. Yeah.
Thanks, and I'll share. I'll echo that as well, from kind of looking on at the outside to see these things come from to work with this group and see plans come to action and watch their confidence grow, and then not resting on their laurels, but also developing into something more. We don't stop with just the success. We use that success to build more success, and I think we've seen a lot of that this year, and I expect more in the years to come. So. With that, Kate, I don't know if you want to bring the Q&A session in, or if there were any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for that really interesting conversation. I actually learned new things, and I've been at St. Edward's for many years, graduated, and now work for the university. So there's lots of good nuggets to share.
There seems to be a lot of that. People graduate and they want to stay here.
I know. So I'd like to invite our attendees to send in any questions that you might have. You can use the Q&A function for that. Anything about student experience or anything sort of the greater St. Edward's community, anything that you think that any of the attendees can answer, please feel free to send in. I would like to ask a question to Ethan and Andres. What would you recommend is a good place for people to start in their own lives in terms of habits? What's sort of like an easy, approachable, like beginner's guide to sustainability? Do you have any habits that you would recommend people can adopt?
Yeah, I guess I'll go first. In my case, I would advise overlooking at just the habits like I'm a very, in my case at least, I'm a very like kind of like I like writing things down. So like maybe like start writing what are the things that maybe you need to try to work on and trying to see small solutions, because I feel that a lot of our daily activities, because it's really all about adapting. I feel that we really are so used to convenience, and in a lot of the cases, especially like with our system that it is like the way it is right now, our whole system is kind of based on convenience rather than sustainability. So a lot of our kind of daily activities or just things that we perform on our daily life are kind of, I feel that if we smallly makes those small changes or small adaptations, let's say for example walking a little further, or just changing the way that you live, or for example just the way you eat and things like that, it may sound like small changes, but overall the big picture will help. And again, you may start as small as you want. Like people, like that doesn't mean that you have to change, like start a whole new diet plan. Like you can just start, like for example trying to eat more green or eating more fruits, things like that, and you don't have to become like fully vegan, for example. But just I think there's many small things that people can really look into how incorporating sustainable actions more into their daily life. And that's the first step, I think, for anyone that wishes to, yeah, just become more eco-friendly or sustainable.
Yeah, and then I would just say, I know personally, I recycle. I have a little compost, and then and just the, like Andres was saying, just the individual decisions that you make in your everyday life, whether it's should I drive there, should I walk there, taking a 5-minute shower, or educating your friends and family and how they could be sustainable. That's one of my favorite things to do, is just telling my friends and family, hey, let's do this instead of that. It's better for the environment, stuff like that. So just on an individual level, I feel like you can make lots of change. And I don't know, and not getting stuck in that mindset that, oh, I'm not doing, like my decision making to being sustainable is not really helping the planet. So I would just get out of that mindset and just focus on what you're doing, and then also telling your friends and family what they can do.
Actually, yeah, I agree with that. I think that I forgot to mention, but informing friends and family or anyone that, especially that is just misinformed, because there's so much misinformation outside that people are talking about. And when you hear that, it's important to not only stand up to it, but also like actually present valid factual evidence to say, like, for example, like a big thing that environmental science, like, or at least professors try to educate us, is when you're engaging in these types of conversations, like have actual facts about why, for example, climate change is actually happening, like give them evidence for it, like especially since we're actually like looking into more details about this major or trying to research about it, like find evidence that might prove otherwise, but would actually be believable by those people, like from actual sources, like, like not saying that you grabbed it from Wikipedia, but like from an actual peer-reviewed source. So yeah.
That's great. I know I definitely need to work on my water consumption, and I've been doing my best to switch over away from single use. So like silicone reusable bags and bringing a water bottle everywhere I go. So little things like that. I know both of you mentioned a little bit at the beginning, major and what year you are, but how are you hoping that you can incorporate sustainability?
Overall, I think that incorporating sustainability, as we've mentioned or tried to mention recently, is more, it's definitely both an individual and a community approach, but the first step will always be individual. And I think that that's the hardest step, because even if your community or your groups, friends, family, whatever, people surrounding you are not as interested in a way would be said, to put it that way, in sustainability, it's good that you actually lead the way, because you might be the first person that might be in, like, getting other people involved or actually informing other people. So I think that if we start by ourselves, it's a great way to teach others, but also to learn from ourselves. So
Yeah, I know for me, I'm a political science major. So one of my biggest passion is advocating and doing advocacy work, whether it's on the legislative side, advocating for some of the climate bills that's right now in the Texas legislature, or doing some grassroots organizing and gathering up my friends to sign petitions or participate in climate rallies or anything like that. So I'm using my knowledge of politics and their interworking of government and legislators, and just intertwining that with my passion for sustainability and using my skills to advocate for those climate bills, et cetera, et cetera.
From a practical standpoint too, I think that leadership and those accomplishments also look good on your, when you put your LinkedIn profile together and put your resume together. So that's a pretty impressive, the ability to be able to do that in a campus environment like this and have the support that you do helps build your professional portfolio so that you'll be able to take that and continue it outside your time from the Hilltop. So it looks like we have Kate back.
Yeah, sorry, my Zoom kicked me out and brought me back in. So awesome. Well, thank you for carrying the baton while I was gone for a sec. Where can students find you? It looks like you guys have an Instagram and a couple other resources. What kind of content can students expect to find there, and how can they connect with you on those platforms?
I'll start real quick and I'll throw it back over to the students. So my suggestion is start with the students' social media, because a lot of what we do on the sustainability side is retweet their success, or repost their success. We do certainly put out informational things as far as, like, if there's an air quality alert, we want to share that information. But my suggestion is start with the students and some of the information they have archived, from, like, we did a tree walk last fall with our arborists and one of the students that interns with him, and I thought that was a really successful thing. So I don't know if Andres and Ethan, if you want to elaborate on that.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say follow our Instagram. And then at that point, that's when you can see the post about our events that we have, using the sign up links. We also have a link to our group me, which is a bunch of students having conversations about sustainability. That's where we post some of our other events as well. So once you get on the Hilltop, we also have St. Edward's puts on an involvement fair with a bunch of other clubs. That's a good way to get involved and also meet us. And also we would give you information as far as upcoming events, and some other information as far as joining us and being part of our group.
yeah, I mean, I don't think I have much to say other than that, but I think that following our Instagram and GroupMe page are the two most important, I'd say, pages that we keep updated, especially since our Instagram has been growing a lot lately. And we tried to promote both events there, but also, like, small things that you can either do or other people have done as well, for students to either recreate or mimic for them to create a more sustainable space, for example. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you all very, very much for being here tonight. I think we'll wrap up there. But please feel free to reach out to Jim, the Sustainability Initiative, and please let us know how we can assist you through your college search or answer any questions that you have about admissions or St. Edward's or sustainability or anything like that. So thank you again for being here. Thank you to Jim, Ethan, and Andres for answering and sharing your experience about St. Ed's and giving us a little more insight into how to be more sustainable. So Thank you all very much and hope to see you at a future event.
Our pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you for having us.
Good one.